The front page of the Daily Mail this morning. This morning in Meltdown, it says, humiliated ITV forced to order a Schofield inquiry. And they basically decided to hire a barrister. They're bringing in a barrister to find out what happened and whether this morning has a toxic culture. Who better to talk to than Jerry Hayes, barrister, former Conservative MP, of course. He was making quite a lot of noise last night on the Jeremy McCalls show, I have to say. Jerry, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike.
You were winding them all up last night like something rotten. I thought, I wish I was there to put you in your place.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I regard it as missionary work. But this Schofield thing really is not as exciting as everyone seems to make out. The only interesting thing about it all is that he appears not to be as nice as he comes over. Well, shock horror, TV presenter is not a nice person and sometimes bullies.
Well, you say that, Jerry, but I think you may be under-egging the pudding slightly, because here's what the problem is for ITV. They appear to have had several inquiries internally which didn't find anything out at all. What we're now being asked to believe is that nobody there knew what was going on, which may well have been a breach of not just company policy, but it may have been a breach of all sorts of other things. Nobody's really sure. But what we can say is that those who have come out and said it was a very toxic culture at ITV, who have watched the share price go down by 60% since Carolyn McCall has been in charge, who have watched the dividends falling rapidly, and who have watched many, many people being either managed out of the business or made to sign NDAs in order to not to say anything about what was really going on. I mean, it appears to be what can only be described as a bit of a nest of vipers. Yeah,
well, shock horror.
It's a public company, Jerry. It's a public company with responsibility to shareholders and to the non-executive directors. So I think your flippancy is all very well, but I think you might take it a bit more seriously.
Yeah, well, OK, you're right to criticise me on this, but at the end of the day, it's all about money. Isn't it?
It is all about money, yeah.
About money.
And if I was a shareholder in ITV, I would want to know how many people have you paid off, how much money has gone through the system, how much has been said to be redundancy when it wasn't, all of that.
Yeah, that is the story. You've got it absolutely spot on.
Of course.
Whether he was having an affair with this boy, everyone knew on the media. Not a shred of evidence that anything illegal was going on. I mean, I think that's...
I think the story is no longer about Mr. Schofield. It's now about ITV. What did they know? When did they know it? And what have they done with all the money?
Well, exactly. And, of course, all the people who are coming out of the woodwork are saying, oh, you know, they treated me pretty badly. But I'm afraid very often media executives do. There's a special place in hell for media executives. You know that. We've all come on stuck with them. Yeah. So,
well, I used to be one.
Yeah, of course you did. Oh, I'd forgotten about that. Yeah, but you're right. This is the story. I mean, why they've got I suspect it's diversionary tactics to have this QT coming in. Because I don't think there's any issue about safeguarding. The boy was 19. He didn't need a chaperone. I remember I used to do a radio show for Kelvin Mackenzie. And my producer, who is now Nigel Farage's producer, we suddenly discovered he was 17. So we had to have a chaperone.
Right.
I mean...
Well, this is the thing. I mean, but let me ask you that from the legal perspective, I don't know whether you know this particular barrister who's coming in.
No, I don't.
But she's being asked to investigate. Well, what sort of powers will she have then?
Well, the thing is, who's paying her?
Presumably ITV are paying her.
Exactly. So they will choose her terms of reference. And I would imagine it will be very, very tight indeed.
Yes.
And she will want to find out what was known. And, of course, if two people deny that they're having an affair, that's it. There's nothing much you can do about it, despite the rumours which have been swirling around for years. I never thought there was a particular issue there. People are having affairs all the time in the media.
Yeah, but I mean, for example, in most media companies, and you will know this as a lawyer, there are very, very strict rules of engagement in which normally if you are having a relationship with somebody on your team, you're supposed to inform your line manager.
Absolutely right. Yeah.
Right.
But obviously they didn't.
So if they didn't do that, that's already a breach of company policy, isn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely right. But we need to know what the company policy was. We need to know whether they had a deliberate blind eye. Because once you're a real TV star on these sort of ghastly programmes, you get what you want, don't you?
Yeah.
You really do get what you want.
Yeah, but that's the other thing, right? Because on Tuesday of next week, Ms. McCall, if she has any cojones, will be appearing before our friends in the Department of Media, Culture and Sport in front of that committee, where she will be asked questions about what she knew and when she knew it. And if she says, well, I didn't know anything, I think there's going to be quite a lot of incredulous looks flying around.
Well, exactly, because we all knew. Everyone on the internet knew. Everyone on Twitter knew what was going on. And I didn't think it was a particular issue. But like all these things, it'll be the cover-up, which is the story, if there is a cover-up.
Yeah. And that's their problem, you see. And so as far as the independent inquiry goes, you know, this will not go away for ITV.
No,
I mean, I still think, and the problem for Karen McCall and others there, Kevin Ligo and others, is that they have proclaimed their innocence, and they've presided over what can only be described as a show with another word in front of it that I can't say on the radio.
Yeah, but that's right. But of course, there's going to be a blood sacrifice here. The question is who? Who's going to be thrown out of their ear? It won't be the head of ITV, I suspect.
Well, it might
It'll either be dear old Martin Frizzell or Ligo.
Right. And I know you're not an employment lawyer, but from the point of view, say, for example, of Mr. Frizzell, say he was to be the blood sacrifice, you know, what happens then? You know, does he have a right to sue for unfair dismissal because it wasn't really him, it was somebody upstairs?
This is the trouble, because everyone knows something which is going to be embarrassing to management, and they all want to keep it under wraps. Otherwise, the share price will go into free fall. Yeah,
and that's the problem for ITV. That this is why, as I said at the beginning of this conversation, they have been humiliated. They will have to make some massive changes because, quite frankly, unless they do, the shadow of this will be cast for a very long time.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Anyway, it's better than talking about Prince Harry, isn't it?
Well, I mean, he's got nothing left to say, so we won't have to talk about him anymore. I'm delighted. But here's another question for you, with your legal hat on. My question is about Dale Vince, who runs Ecotricity, a big sort of eco-energy company. He also happens to own a football club called Forest Green Rovers, who have just been relegated out of the Football League. He has quite openly admitted to bankrolling Just Stop Oil. He's given them at least several donations, some of which have accounted for about £1 million. Now, if they are using those donations to commit criminal acts, and they commit criminal acts because they're being arrested by the police, is he not aiding and abetting a crime?
I'm not going to go into that.
Why not?
Because I don't know enough about it. Really, I'm not going to make a...
But you're a lawyer.
Well, yeah. But I also know a little bit of libel as well. So no,
it's not about libel. Listen, Dale Vince is a guy that we get on this show on a regular basis, and I'm going to get him on and ask him if he doesn't think he's aiding and abetting a crime.
I think that's the best thing to do. I think that's the best thing to do.
Is that the best legal advice you could give me at £55,000 an hour?
I give all my legal advice to you, Mike, for nothing.
No, well, that's because it's not worth anything.
I'm about to be called. I've got my gown on. I've got to put my wig on because I'm...
Go on, off you go. Go defend some more violent criminals. And off you go. Here he is, Jerry Hayes, barrister and former Conservative Party MP. He doesn't want to have libelled Dale Vince. Well, why not? Of course, nobody's going to libel him. It's a perfectly valid question. I'm going to put it to Dale Vince one of these days as to why he thinks it's OK to continue to give money to Just Stop Oil. Today, for example, they're holding up the coach that's taking the England cricket team to Lord's for a test match with Ireland. And for some reason, you know, there's plenty of these characters that keep coming out of the woodwork. And the reason is because they're all getting paid to be agitators, to be demonstrators, by money which is coming into Just Stop Oil. I mean, only yesterday Dale Vince promised to match any donation made to Just Stop Oil and give the same amount again to the organisation. This is why they can't be stopped, because there's so many of them and they're getting paid to do it. It's outrageous. This is TalkTV.